Well, if you can believe it, Windows 95 is already 30 years old. It was on this exact day, well, the day of upload anyways, back in 1995 when a whole bunch of people got together in Redmond to attend what probably still is the most over-the-top software launch event ever held. This thing was insane, and it was made very obvious how excited that Microsoft was about the launch of their next OS release. And one of the ways they celebrated was by giving away a copy of Windows 95 to some of the people in attendance that day. But it wasn't any ordinary copy you could find on store shelves. This right here is the special edition copy of Windows 95 that is easily one of the rarest things I have in my collection. And yes, it's still sealed, and today seems like an appropriate time to change that. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. So I'm going to get this out of the way right here in the beginning. The copy of Windows 95 in here is in no way different from a retail copy, except for the fact that of course it comes in its own really exclusive, nice looking packaging that is entirely different from what you would find on a store shelf. So here it is next to the upgrade copy. I'll go ahead and flip it around here. There is an upgrade copy of Windows 95 in here, by the way. They did not give you the full release. And at the end of the day, even though it would have been nice to maybe have some custom theme or an additional program bundled in here, you did get this thing for free, so you can't really complain, right? Now, as for how rare this thing is, it's honestly a bit hard to tell because there's not an official number of how many of these things were produced. The only number I found was on a blog from a guy named Kevin who listed 3,000. I also found a post from Raymond Shen, who writes Microsoft's The Old New Thing dev blog, which said that the special edition copy was also given out at various other marketing events. They also might have come with a t-shirt if this eBay listing is to be believed. Unfortunately, I don't have one of those, as you can see, but regardless, I mean, this thing is pretty rare, and like I said, I have yet to see somebody open it up on video, so we're going to change that. I think we'll just start by cutting it down here in the bottom and make a little cut in the film there. And let's just peel it back and see what we got. And by the way, I know I am pretty heavily devaluing this thing by cracking it open, but I mean, come on guys, it's the 30th anniversary. That only comes, you know, one time ever. So here it is, the Windows 95 Special Edition. It looks like you do have to pull this here on the bottom, and that is Velcro, okay? So that explains why it's a little bit deformed there just from like resting on that all these years in that shrink wrap. So you open this up, and you get this nice little message, I guess, from Microsoft. More power, more freedom, more fun. That's what Windows 95 brings to millions of people everywhere. Please accept this special gift edition with our compliments and discover the world of Windows 95. And yeah, okay. So we're going to go ahead and take this out here. And yeah, if I had to guess, this cardboard box is probably like exactly the same, you know, package that would have just gone into a retail copy. But, you know, I could certainly be wrong. We've got nothing else in there. I'm going to carefully close this back up and we will set it aside for now. Oh, and I guess I can just show you the back here really quickly. You got the Microsoft logo and their slogan from the time. On the right spine, you have your system requirements. And then on the other side, you've got your, like, you know, genuine sticker, like proof of realness there. So we'll go ahead and set that aside. And let's see what we've got. Like I said, my guess is just going to be your standard stuff, which it kind of looks like it is. So you've got your upgrade copy of Windows 95. You've got your registration card for US and Canadian residents. The want the address of the most important person of Microsoft variant. They did change this a few times. I have to count like how many of these I have now. I've got like so many of them. And then you have your introducing Windows 95 instruction manual / getting started guide thing. So yeah, I mean, that is where the exclusivity ends for this item. But you know, this video's got to be like 20 minutes long or something. So yes, we are going to be installing Windows 95 on one of my computers because it just seems fitting, right? So let's go ahead and pop this in and get this OS installed and mess around with it for a little bit. Right after a quick word from today's sponsor, Proton Pass. I'm sure all of us have a ridiculous amount of passwords these days, and keeping track of them is one of the most frustrating things ever. You forget, you have to reset, then you find out you haven't used the recovery email address in 5 years and can't remember the login for that either. Proton Pass makes that a thing of the past. It generates unique, secure passwords for each of your logins and stores them all in an encrypted vault that only you have access to, with the last password you'll ever need to memorize. And it also makes signing into your accounts an absolute breeze. Just click on the login field, choose the account you want to log in with, and you're good to go. They've got apps for all of the major browsers and mobile platforms, ensuring that no matter where you are, you'll never lose access to your accounts and passwords. And their Pass Plus plan, which you can get for 60% off at proton.me/michaelmjd, comes with some nice extras like unlimited email aliases so you can hide your real address, integrated two-factor authentication, dark web monitoring, and the ability to have up to 50 individual vaults so you can organize your passwords as you please. Proton Pass is both end-to-end encrypted and open source, so be sure to click the link below to save on your first year, and huge thanks again to Proton for making this video possible. You know, I realized something when I was setting up the computer here. This may actually be a first for me because this is a launch copy of Windows 95. I mean, duh, right? But I don't think I've ever installed this one before. Typically, the copies of 95 that I've installed on this channel are like OEM copies that would have come with a computer, and this one that I have in box is one of the later releases where they started bundling Internet Explorer with it. This did not happen in the original version. In fact, you had to buy Microsoft Plus to get access to Internet Explorer, which we probably are going to install this a little bit later on in the video because this was released alongside 95 on August 24th. So yeah, the computer that we are using today is the 90s mystery PC that has shown up on this channel a handful of times. This is actually a Cyrix 6X86 computer, and yeah, it was sent to me by a viewer a couple years back. And when I got it, it ran Windows 98, but a lot of the files on it had, you know, dates in the early 90s. So I think this system had been in use for a while at the time when it had 98 installed on it. But we're going to be installing 95 on it today, so I've already went ahead and configured the hard drive here. We have a DOS partition on it. So we're going to pop in the Windows 95 upgrade CD and get this show on the road. And you might be saying, wait a second, Michael, how on earth is that going to be possible with this thing not having an operating system on it? Well, I'll show you. Let's go ahead and swap over to the R drive. And actually, the first thing we're going to do, before I forget, because I do suspect this being an issue at some point, we're going to make a Win95 folder on the C drive, go over to the R drive, go into the Win95 directory, and then do a copy *** c:/win95. Oh, and look at that, we're off to a fantastic start. I'm guessing it was just still reading from the drive, maybe? Yeah, because I had like just put the disk in. Let's try that again and hope that that was just a fluke. Win95, there we go. That's a lot better. If you don't know why I'm doing this, there's a point in the setup where after you install the operating system, Windows asks you to put the CD back in the drive, but it doesn't always recognize the disk drive at that point. In fact, in my experience, at least with the systems that I've installed 95 on, it happens more often than not. So copying all this stuff to the hard drive allows you just to change. You guys probably already know this. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it because I don't want to rehash like everything, you know, that I always say in like a video about Windows 95. But I'm probably going to rehash a lot of things that I say in a video about Windows 95. But anyways, here we are at the initial setup, so we're going to click on continue and have it do its preparations. And this right here is where it tries to do the upgrade check. Now, admittedly, I did not know about this until recently, but this is something that makes the Windows 95 installer pretty cool. You don't actually need to have a copy of Windows 3.1 or 3.11 on your hard drive to install the upgrade copy. You can verify that you own it by popping in a setup diskette for, well, in this case, Windows 3.11. So we're going to click on continue. It's going to fail to find Windows on the hard drive, so we're going to press locate, and I'm going to swap the diskette out here. And then we'll change over to the A drive, press OK, and there we go. We're going through the setup wizard. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. We're going to go with a custom setup and put in our name here. For the product key, we can just do the classic you know, key algorithm like crack here, which I always shout out Flytek's video about this because that was just so interesting when I first watched that. A very, very cool video going over the Windows 95 key algorithm and how that is a valid product key. But I've got an original copy with a real valid key on the back here if Microsoft really still cares about that. But anyways, we are definitely, actually, do we want to let's just go through with recommended first. All this hardware is, I mean, pretty close to like the time time that Windows 95 would have been released, so I think that we'll be fine. I've just had a few times where, like, if I put this on the Windows 98 PC, for instance, I currently have a GPU in there from 2003. It does not like going through this analyzing process with that in it. It just hangs at some point. So we're going to say we have a network adapter and a sound MIDI or video capture card. Actually, do we have a network adapter? No, we don't. I pulled that out of here, so we're just going to uncheck that, and let's see if it doesn't freeze up. It's usually about 80-something% is where it starts to experience problems. I just like to move the mouse around here in circles, and then if it freezes up, then I know the system is just hung. Now, sometimes it will recover, so, you know, it's not necessarily always going to require us to do a restart, but let's see here. We made it to 90. That's a good sign. And the hard drive is clacking away. I'm sure you can't hear that at all, but this is all looking good so far. I'm hoping that, I mean, the graphics card that I have in here is an old Trident card. I'm hoping that Windows 95 is able to recognize that and install like a proper driver for it. Alright, get connected. So do we want to grab, I mean, what the heck? Why don't we grab the Microsoft Network, mail, and fax? I mean, we have plenty of space on this hard drive. And we're just going to grab all the components here. So we'll grab all the accessories, communications, disk tools, Exchange, fax, multimedia, Microsoft Network. And yeah, alrighty. Network configuration comes up, not really anything we're going to worry too much about. We'll just leave all of this as, well actually, what do we want to name the computer? Let's call it 30th, yeah, because that sounds really original. The Windows 95 30th anniversary celebration. Is that too long? No, it's not. Cool. Work group, yeah, we'll just leave it as work group, why not? That's the one thing that I never change. And look at that, it's found Trident Super VGA, perfect. So we have the proper display adapter, great. And I don't think did it find an audio device? It doesn't look like it. We might have to revisit that. But yeah, all this looks good. Let's go ahead and hit next. We do not need a startup disk. Let's have it copy files. I just want to point out here, I know this video may seem a little bit repetitive because we've installed Windows 95 a lot on this channel, but I mean, this is the 30th anniversary. Like, I wanted to do something. This seemed pretty appropriate. I bought this special edition copy. We have some 90s era hardware here to mess around with. So it just seemed kind of like the perfect time to really, you know, revisit this operating system because it's been a little bit since I've taken a look at this personally. And Windows 95 was just such an instrumental release of Windows. I mean, I feel like 3.1 was really when Windows started to become popular and like a real operating system, even though it wasn't technically an operating system at that point. But 95 just took it to the next level. And heck, I mean, the taskbar and the start menu and all that stuff still carry over to Windows today, except for that little brief period during Windows 8, but, you know, we don't like to talk about that. But yeah, basically, we're going to go and kind of explore the operating system a little bit. We're going to install at least Microsoft Plus, maybe a couple other things, and just, you know, have some fun and just celebrate the fact that this operating system has been around for 30 years, which is just kind of crazy to say. So we're almost done here. It looks like we are at 99%, right about to get to 100. There we go. And then it's going to ask us to restart our system and ask us to eject the floppy disk. So we will do just that. Oh yeah, and we get that first boot screen that I love. Yeah, this right here. I mean, I don't know what it is about this. It just looks really, really cool. And especially the fact that you only got to see it one time when you first installed it is just, you know, it kind of makes it special. Here's the point where, let's see if it recognizes the disk drive at this point. My guess is no. Oh, wait, it did? Holy, what? That might be the first time I've ever had that happen. All right, we'll leave it in Pacific time. And, oh yeah, we got to configure Microsoft Exchange, which, well, I don't think we have to. We can probably just quit out of this, but I'm not going to set up a mail account on here. And the printer, no, we don't want to bother with that. And setup has configured. Finish configuring your system. You must restart. All right. And there is the real boot screen that is definitely better than the first boot one visually. But I mean, I still think I like the first boot one just a little bit better. So it looks like we don't have a good video mode. What do we have going on here? Oh, okay. So we can change this. We want to switch to 256 color. Let's do 800 by 600. Will that actually work? Oh, we have to specify a monitor. We'll just say Super VGA 800 by 600. And would you look at that? We've got a much better video signal coming out of this thing. I guess we can go in here and just show you, I mean, like I said before, this is just your standard release of 95, so there's nothing special in here. You got all your standard accessories, nothing, you know, additional in these folders at all. I guess we can open up my computer and go into Device Manager, although if you were curious, here's what the system properties info looks like. We've got our Trident Super VGA display adapter. I'm not seeing anything for sound. Is that under other devices? We've got a PCI VGA compatible display adapter showing up in there. We do have a dial-up adapter under network. Okay. Yeah, I may have to look at this because I would like to see if we could get sound working. That would be nice. Alright, well after much troubleshooting and the ultimate failure of trying to get a network card and a sound card working in this system, mainly because, at least I would suspect, the only cards I have are a lot newer than Windows 95, and so, you know, the drivers that I found for them, even though some of them say they work with Windows 95, most likely require a newer operating system version than the original, you know, retail one that came out on August 24th. So, yeah, and I don't want to upgrade to a newer release because I want to explore, you know, this original version in this video. But hey, we got display working, and this kind of adds to the true Windows 95 experience of, you know, stuff not working right out of the box. Now, to give Microsoft credit here, Plug and Play, which was introduced with Windows 95 and something that we take for granted on Windows today, was a huge feature when it launched, and it made installing devices on your system much easier when it worked, because it didn't always work, and if you had an older system running Windows 3.1 trying to upgrade to 95, you very well may have run into problems getting some of your hardware devices to work properly. Now, in this case, like I said, all the stuff I have is just newer, so, you know, it's kind of expected that we're not really going to get all of that working properly. But regardless, we're going to move on to taking a look at Microsoft Plus. I wanted to fit this in here since this was the companion product for 95 that was released alongside it, and this included Internet Explorer. So if you know, were interested in trying out the web, this was a way that you could have done that and, you know, get further and further into Microsoft's ecosystem. And we are done with that. And Plus knows exactly what I want to do because it's going to open the desktop themes window so that we can choose a theme here. And you know which one I'm going with. Inside your computer, I've said this many times, this is my favorite Windows theme, hands down. Even still, like, take all the Windows versions. This is my favorite theme. I think it is so freaking cool. Check that out. Doesn't that just look incredible? So yeah, we got Plus installed, which brings Internet Explorer to the system, which we're not going to really be able to, you know, use this because we don't have a proper network adapter installed. So, service provider name. We do not have a drop-down. We're going to say AOL because I'm sure you guys have heard the news, but AOL dial-up is going away in September. And yes, there will be a video about that, so stay tuned. Phone number, we'll just put in some random one here. And username and password, sure. And yeah, automatically assigns me one. Cool. Not going to bother specifying a DNS server. Do not use internet mail. I just want to take a look at the browser for like 2 seconds. Got to go through this whole setup. And this is version 4.4 of Internet Explorer, for those wondering. Definitely pretty primitive looking compared to how it looked in later releases, but it got the job done, and because IE eventually came bundled with later versions of Windows 95, and, you know, versions of Windows after that, it's the browser that most people started to use and, you know, experience the web with. So, yeah, that is Plus installed. That is applying a theme. There is a lot more stuff that Plus does to the system that we could take a look at, but I already did a video on that if you want to check that out here. And I think we're kind of getting to a wrapping up point. I know this video maybe is not the most exciting thing because we've done a lot of this stuff before, but, you know, I just wanted, like I said, to do something for Windows 95's 30th anniversary. Though there is one more thing that I want to do. I feel it's also kind of appropriate to acknowledge the developers that worked on Windows 95, and Microsoft included a really cool Easter egg, and it's my personal favorite Windows Easter egg that highlights the names of everybody on the product team, and they have a pretty clever way to access it. It's done by making a folder on your desktop and naming it 3 separate things. The first is, and now, comma, the moment you've all been waiting for. Press enter, and then rename it again to we proudly present for your viewing pleasure. And then, finally, the Microsoft Windows 95 product team with an exclamation point at the end. And now, when you open this folder, it will launch into a nice animated movie. that just lists all of the names of the people that worked on Windows 95, which I think is pretty awesome. And it definitely ties into, you know, what Easter eggs were kind of used for to begin with. They were originally used in video games where the individual developers didn't get credit for any of their work, unfortunately, to, you know, have a way to acknowledge themselves in their own games. So yeah, here's all the people that worked on Windows 95, and we're just going to kind of let this play out for the outro here. That is pretty much going to wrap it up for a little Windows 95 30th anniversary celebration. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely be sure to give it a thumbs up, get subscribed, maybe consider becoming a patron or a channel member to get early access to these videos before anybody else. But either way, I just want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.